Hi everybody at home. Right now what we are just beginning class with is an Oreo cookie, and we are doing number 1 on this page right here. So I know you might not have an Oreo cookie at home, but you guys can follow along. We have now entered the next phase of this chapter, which is the problem solving phase. So we are going to start this part of the chapter by doing some problem solving things in class, sometimes individually like they are right now, and then sometimes as a group. So again, what they're supposed to do is, number 1, they're supposed to write down all the steps to what is the best way to actually eat an Oreo cookie. Remember, you guys, to write step 1 or number 1, number 2. Think about what you would do to tell someone that's never ever had or seen an Oreo cookie in their life. They've never seen a commercial. They don't know what to do with this thing. Good? Roughly? Getting there? All right, it's okay if it's not perfect. What I'd like you guys to do is just turn to each other. I know there's only 3 of you over here, but if you could share. And you all don't need to read everything exactly. If one of you could, and then the rest just chime in where maybe you didn't include something, that might work for us. Go ahead.
So I started off with cold Oreo from the thin side between your thumb and index finger. And then before taking a bite, move thumb and index finger to the side furthest away from where you're going to bite. Fingers.
That's good. I didn't think of that one.
Put about 1/4 of the Oreo in your mouth and bite it off. And then chew on it about 18 times before it's gone. And then I did it.
What do you guys have that's different?
Well, I pulled mine apart. So I said, my first step was grab the Oreo from the package, and then step 2 was hold the Oreo with 2 hands so that the fingers are on the edge of the Oreo, gripping it slightly, and then with one hand touch one side of the edge of the Oreo. And then with one hand pull one side of the Oreo away from the other so that it is now in 2 pieces, in 2 parts.
Yeah.
And then I said, eat the side of the cookie with no filling in 1 or 2 bites, and then chew it thoroughly, and then do the same with the other side.
So I'm sorry, I might have missed it. Do you take the filling off before you eat the cookie?
No.
You eat
I pull it apart, and then whatever side it sticks on, I just leave it on.
And there's no licking of the.
Yeah.
You do?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. I've seen people do that too. Any difference?
Mine was kind of like Brian's. Just grab it on the edge, and then flip it over to the flat side with your pointer and thumb. And then I said eat half of it, but honestly it's just up to, I don't know, however you want. And then and you like put it to your mouth, and then you chew down, and then I said chew until it turns into fine pieces and swallow. I didn't know.
Until you have no more crunch.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm a little surprised. I don't think I missed it, but none of you had milk.
Well, like we didn't have milk, so like I was gonna.
How would you eat an Oreo cookie without milk?
I don't eat mine with milk.
Do you guys?
Sometimes.
Oh, I can't eat it without milk. So I learned in a previous class period, they said that you put the fork inside the white fill. I didn't know that. And then they put it in there. Because I always just hold on to it and then wait till it gets a little mushy, but not too mushy because then you're going to lose it. Interesting. Well, you can free to eat your Oreo cookies, give them to each other if you don't want them, or hanging on to them for someone else. One of the things I wanted to demonstrate by doing something as simple as these, how would you eat an Oreo cookie, is that you actually were I was trying to get you to write an algorithm, more like a step-by-step approach. Most of us, when we hear the word algorithm, we think of math problems, am I right? And in math, we do have problems where you're like, okay, you do this first, you don't go do this one, you don't go do number 6, first. You have to do all these sequential items before you can get to the end. That's kind of what we were trying to do. We were trying to create these sequential items before you got to the end. We're talking today about how do we solve problems. Algorithm is one. It's a step-by-step approach. When you first learned math a long time ago, did they show you like the longer way to actually add and subtract and things like that? Now most of you today don't need to use, correct me if I'm wrong, because things have changed, skinnies and bits. Was that what you used when you were in elementary school? I don't even know what they use skinnies and bits for, but I know my kids came home with skinnies and bits, and I'm like, what is this? And so you have now developed shortcuts on how to do some of the math problems. We've also developed shortcuts in problems in our life. So we're not just talking how do we solve problems, math problems. We're talking about life problems. We're talking about something as generic as, oh my gosh, my car won't start. What am I going to do? To as complicated like, oh, I'm really struggling with a major problem in my life right now. To something as silly and has nothing really to do with psychology at all, of like, how would you eat an Oreo cookie? But we have all these ways we solve our problems in our life, and algorithm is one of the ways. Sidebar before we go on to the next one. I don't know how many of you are Big Bang Theory fans. I watch it quite a bit. Sheldon, who's our kind of geeky science, also very socially awkward man, developed an algorithm of how to create friends because he's just socially awkward and he doesn't know how to create friends. So the first thing he says is make a phone call. Then if the person is home and answers, then I ask them this. If they're not home, then I do this. He literally has a flow chart of an algorithm. I know you can't see it from there, but it's so silly and stupid. He had this on the show on a huge whiteboard. He had it all drawn out. If this happens, then I do this. If this happens, then I do this. For those of you at home, it looks like this. It's just something silly. But if you know Sheldon at all, it's right up his alley. Let's do the back side of the yellow. This one, you guys are going to need each other. Someone be the recorder. You all don't need to write it down. You may have done something like this in the past. We are looking for creativity. We're looking for unique and originality. So this is the page we are now on at home. You are solving life's everyday problems. Here you will work together as a group to reinvent the role of the role. Each person must generate as many ideas as possible to use the rolls of toilet paper, all of its contents, to solve an everyday problem in life. keep in mind, these must be problems that a roll of toilet paper was not originally designed to do. It is not currently being used for. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you go into a bathroom and you need to blow your nose, most people already will take some toilet paper and use that as a Kleenex. So that's already currently used. You have to think of things that are not currently used, okay? They must be new, innovative, fresh ideas for the use of a roll of toilet paper. 3 of you, somebody write down your thoughts. Keep track. We probably won't get to 30. We haven't gotten to 30 yet today, but maybe you can come up with 5 to 10. Go ahead. If you are at home, if you guys could think of just different things, different ways to actually use a toilet paper or a roll of toilet paper. And then you can follow along once these guys are done. It's not a big deal. You're not turning it in or anything.
Like one thing is like you can use it to decorate your house, kind of like, you know, strip paper, you can put on the walls or on the doors.
Okay.
What kind of car would you be able to drive with toilet paper?
The perfect circle.
Yeah.
Or I bet like a full roll of toilet paper might be pretty good fire starter.
I like that one.
Dodgeball with it if you want.
Think about though, you're solving a problem, right? So even though, yeah, it could be used for dodgeball or sports, that's not really a problem. I guess if you didn't have a ball, then it would be a problem. So you could look at it like that. Ooh, creativity is flying fresh in this period. How many you guys got? 4?
Kind of okay, I guess.
Come on, keep going, keep going. I'm only hearing Brian talking, and you're not saying anything.
Maybe like if you know the measurements of a square, you can like use it to measure things.
I don't know if this is new, but like you could like use the like actual toilet paper to like clog something. Like if it's like legal or something, you could use it.
Ah, yeah, that's a good one. What's your best? We'll stop you there. I don't want to cause heartache. What do you feel like your best one is? Like, it's just okay. Like, what do you guys think? What's a pretty decent one? Unique, creative.
Fire starter or plugging the hole.
Okay. Okay. Do you find yourself, when you were doing this, getting stuck on original things that were new? Because what does your brain keep doing?
Go to things that know.
Going back to what we know it's already been used for, like, okay, if I don't have a Band-Aid, I'm going to, do something like that, or stop bleeding. I've done that if I cut myself when I'm shaving, I'll put a piece of toilet paper on my leg. That type of stuff we already know. But our minds tend to get kind of stuck in that, oh, well, it's already using for that. Have you guys ever been in a situation where you need something, you don't have the thing, and you can't think of using something else for a different purpose? Or vice versa. You needed something, and then you see something else, and you're like, well, I could use that instead. And that's not the original purpose of that, kind of like the toilet paper. Can anybody give me an example?
It's like using a toothpick to unlock the door.
Yeah, using a toothpick to unlock a door. Have you done that? I've never done that.
I've
My
used the
dad's tried to
bobby pin.
teach me, but I don't know, I can't figure it out.
I've never heard of a toothpick. I've heard of a paper clip. You know, you unwind the paper clip
Yeah.
and doing it that way. But toothpick, oh wow, look at her. She's a little locksmith.
Or like when people do clothing hangers for the car door.
Yeah, yep. Can you guys think of anything you've used that wasn't the original intent? Not off the top of your head. This is called functional fixedness. If you see an item and you're like a roll of toilet paper, and you're like, I can't think of anything else. It's just toilet paper. It's used to wipe my bottom when I go to the bathroom, you know. When we get stuck on the usage of different items, it becomes really difficult because we get in that mindset where we can't think, and that's all we can see. Sometimes that hurts us when we're trying to solve problems, like the examples we were given, like you're locked out and you're like, I don't have a key, I guess I'm out of luck. No. Do you have something in your hair that could you use? Do you have your book bag? Could you use something in there? That type of thing. So when we try to solve problems, we do it usually one of these three ways that are listed here on the board. You'll notice I have my nice yellow brick road on the board. So not the Wizard of Oz, but what we're doing is when we think about how do we solve problems, it's like this path in our brain, a search in space. We're trying to solve, how the heck, what should I do? And your mind immediately goes to like what you've done before that's worked or things like that. So what we do is we tend to grab a hold of algorithms, which is a term that we just talked about, or a heuristic. Heuristics are quicker, they're more efficient. So anything that's in the bullet underneath the term, so these are all the vocabulary words in the pink, and then underneath that's the stuff you want to remember. But heuristics are quick, efficient, and they're usually kind of when you work backwards. And so instead of like solving the math problem like I was talking to you guys about before, like going through the way you learned how to add and subtract, you just know like these little quick shortcuts that you're going to take to actually get to the problem and solve the problem a lot faster than people that need to go step by step by step. Make sense to you? So the other thing is usually there's no guarantee. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. Here, there's more likely a huge guarantee that it's going to work for you. So you guys lose your keys in your house, and the last place you can remember having them was in your bedroom. If you used a heuristic, you would actually just go to your bedroom right away and look in there because you're taking the shortcut, you're working backwards, and you're looking. But then what happens when you look in your bedroom and they're not there? And then you look someplace else and they're not there. You know they're in the house somewhere. Eventually what you might do is literally go through every single room in your home, which if you looked under everything in your house, can you imagine how long that would eventually take? Most of us don't do that. We're a little bit smarter than that. We're not going to look in our silverware drawer for our keys. We're not going to look in our pots and pans cupboard for our keys. You might look on your couch or in your coat pockets or things like that. Do you take a heuristic, hoping that it's going to be quicker, or do you do an algorithm, a step-by-step that will guarantee, but it's going to be a lot longer? Yeah, most of us do that, right? So you guys understand the difference between the two. And then the last one is pretty easy. It's insight. We solve problems by just that aha, light bulb on moment where we're like, oh, that's it. You know, the eureka moment that just kind of comes on. The person that you should know that I think you're going to be reading, I don't know exactly the page number that's on in your chapter, but it's going to come in a couple days for you guys, is Wolfgang Kohlherr. He's on your test. And I make sure I mention it, even though it's not that big of a deal, but I just don't want you to get it wrong or look at that test like, who the heck is this guy? So what he did was, it's pretty simple. He put an ape in a cage, and he put their food up pretty high, and he wanted to see if the apes could figure out how to solve the problem of getting their food. And the ape eventually moved, there was a box and a stick also in the cage. Moved the box, stepped on the box, took the stick, whacked the food down. It was like kind of, nobody showed them. They didn't learn how to do that. It was the aha moment. A lot of us do this where we weren't shown. It just comes to us like, oh, what if we do it this way? You know, and then you try it and you're like, oh, it worked. So that type of thing. So let's do another problem as a team. This one, you are in a plane crash, okay? I don't think you've ever seen this one before. You may have heard of plane crashes before when, like problem solvings. I think this one might be a new one. So one of you will be the recorder on this one. You have to work together. Here is the situation. Second paragraph. You and your companions have just survived a crash of a small plane. Both the pilot and the co-pilot were killed in the crash. It's mid-January and you're in northern Canada. The daily temperature is 25 below zero and the nighttime temperature is 40 below zero. There is snow on the ground. The countryside is wooded with several creeks crisscrossing the area. The nearest town is 20 miles away. You are dressed in city clothes appropriate for a business meeting. Your group of survivors managed to salvage the following bolded items. You three together collaborate, decide what 5 items you would keep. You do not need to put your rationale down. We're going to cut it for time, okay? So it doesn't matter what order you also put it in, but you need to come up with 5 items together. Any questions? All right, chit chat about what items you would keep. These are their choices.
I think the axe is important. I think the compass. How many is that?
Really talk about, you know, what you think is best, okay, to survive this. And even say to each other, even though you don't have to write it down, like, why do you want to keep that? You know, you just don't have to write it down, but chit chat about it.
Yeah, maybe like.
It's the map that the pilot uses. Do you have 5 yet?
I think it's for baking. Is it?
It is sometimes used for baking, yes.
It's like a powder, I think, right? No?
Like oil?
It's more oil.
So then you can have that with like a cigarette better. So you can just have the crystal stored in that acts like oil to use it as a substitute for the lighter.
How many guys got?
Flammable? Can we combine them?
No. How many got?
3.
3? Come on. Come on, Brent.
I feel like the chocolate bars are important just because you can beat the sunshine.
lighter and then the cork of whiskey, so that could be a fire.
How many at?
At least,
Okay.
I think we should add the whiskey in.
That's 4.
lighter.
Some things that doesn't have fluid.
Or does this also have like the thingy, like a little spark that makes that could be used for the whiskey? Because if it, just because the cigarette layer doesn't have fluid doesn't mean you can just put the whiskey into the fluid and refill it with the whiskey.
What do you think, girls? Okay.
So later,
Were you a Boy Scout?
a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Here's a couple pieces of info before I give you the answers. Mid-January is the coldest time of year in Canada, just so you guys know. The first problem you're going to face is preservation of your body heat. The problem can be solved by building a fire, minimizing movement, and use as much insulation and constructing a shelter. The second problem you're going to have is your body could potentially go into, what am I thinking?
Hypothermia?
Before that, you've just crashed. You've seen 2 people die. Yes, shock, which is going to actually give you that state of shock, actually will cause you to become pretty dire in your brain, and then your body's working even harder. So you need to calm yourself down. 20 miles to the nearest town. The problem is if you try to walk it, because of how you're dressed and the temperatures, it will almost mean certain death from freezing and exhaustion. The next thing after you keep warm, your next task is to try to get the attention of a surviving plane who's looking for you. Okay, so first keep them warm and then trying to get their attention. The answer sheet, was developed by a guy by the name of Mark Wanvig. He was a former instructor in survival training of the 101 1st Division of the U.S. Army. He currently conducts wilderness survival training programs in the Minneapolis area, and this survival game, is used in military training. All right, so here's your answers. You want low scores, okay? The very first thing you want to keep is a cigarette lighter. Put 1 point down for that one. You got 1 point, which is good. Didn't you click it at the very end, cigarette lighter?
Yeah.
Now, I heard you guys having that discussion about that. The gravest danger facing your group is exposure to the cold. The greatest need is for a source of warmth, and the second is for signaling. This makes building a fire for the first order of business. Without matches, something is needed to produce a spark. Even without fluid, a cigarette lighter can produce a spark. I heard you say that. You know, like we could still get the spark on it, okay? Number 2, no one has gotten this one right yet today. Ball of steel wool. A lot of people were actually saying, I don't even know what that
They
is.
could use like a battery for it, but I said no, if you could actually keep the spark or not.
So steel wool is often used cleaning. It's like a cleaning mechanism, or sometimes in mechanics we'll use that as well. So why? Because to make a fire, you need a means of catching the sparks made by the cigarette lighter. This is the best substance for catching a spark and supporting a flame, even if the steel wool is a little wet. So 3, extra shirt and pants. Did you say that?
Yeah.
Okay, give yourself 3 points then. You need more clothing. Can of Crisco is the next most important. Did you say yes to that one? I heard your discussion. You guys had more of a discussion than anybody else about the can of Crisco yet, though. Okay, it has a lot of usages. Look at this. I mean, we're going to learn something about survival if we ever get lost in the woods. All right, first of all, it could be a mirror-like signaling device can be made from the lid. After shining the lid with steel wool, it will reflect sunlight and generate 5 to 7 million candle power. This is bright enough to be seen beyond the horizon. While this could be limited somewhat by the trees, a member of the group could climb the tree and use it to mirror it. If you had no means of signaling, this would have a better than 80% chance of being rescued on the first day. I'm like, damn, I think I should just carry Crisco with me if I'm going somewhere. Because look at this. There are other uses you could use. It can be rubbed on exposed skin for protection against the cold. Or when melted into an oil, the shortening can be helpful as fuel. I heard you guys talking about that. When soaked into a piece of cloth, melted shortening will act like a candle. You could also use the empty can to melt the snow to drink your water. It's much drink to drink warmed water than to eat snow, since warm water will help retain body heat. Water is important because dehydration. I did not know that warm water is better to drink when you are in a situation like that. Did you? I think we should have a survival class. Okay, number 5, 20 by 20 foot piece of canvas. Did you guys put that one? Ooh, give yourself 5 points. Now, we don't want to go up too high. That's going to give you the shelter. How about a small axe? Did you guys say that one? Okay, give yourself 6 points. Chocolate bars will give you 7 points. Did you guys have that one? Okay, newspapers will give you 8 points. Did you say that one? A loaded .45 caliber pistol. Did you say yes? Ooh, I'm surprised. Did you guys even talk about that? I'm only surprised because other classes did put it down. What made you guys say no to it? Did you have a reason?
No, I kind of ignored it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, this paragraph, I'll just summarize it for you. It says, although it could be used for like sound to try to get somebody to hear you, the chance of anybody in your group being able to use that to actually catch prey and then do what with the prey is going to be so limited. In addition, more than anything, it's probably not a good idea because like your emotions are going to be really high and everybody's going to be angry and upset and and somebody might overreact and use it in a bad way. Okay, next one. 100 proof of whiskey. Did you guys say that? Everybody's picking the whiskey. That's 10 points. It's going to rack you up. Why did you guys say you wanted to use a whiskey?
For like a fuel for the lighter.
For fuel. The only use of whiskey are as an aid in fire building, as a fuel for a torch. The empty bottle could be used to store water, but you don't want to drink it. And here's why. I didn't know this either. The danger of whiskey is that someone might drink it thinking it would bring warmth to their body. Alcohol takes on the temperature it is exposed to, and a drink of minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit whiskey could freeze a person's esophagus and stomach. Who knew? Alcohol also dilates the blood vessels in the skin, resulting in chilled blood being carried back to the heart, resulting in rapid loss of body heat. Thus, note, a drunk person is more likely to get hypothermia than a sober person. If I'm ever in Canada secluded, you read about me, you will know. I will not do that. Compass is toward the bottom. Did you guys take it off?
Yeah.
And then the last one is map. How many points did you get?
25.
That was the lowest today.
Really?
Everybody's been in the 30s. So pretty darn good. I'm curious to see if other people get a little bit lower. I can take these back. If you didn't write on the white sheets, I can also take those back. If you did, you can just recycle them. It's totally fine. Our time today is up. Tomorrow, what I'm going to do in class, if you have your, do you have your packet handy? I just want to show you real quick. Tomorrow in class, we're going to talk about the problems with problem solving. So like we have all these problems with problem solving. Huge amount of vocabulary words. It's on a PowerPoint, and I'll put it on, it's on Canvas too for you. Okay? Have a great day. Yeah. What an interesting little, I just find that so interesting. Don't you think we should have like a survival class? No, really.
I don't know.
Okay, like I'm thinking like it could be a lot of different things, like surviving first year of college, like
Okay, yeah.
how you do laundry.
Right.
And then you could even incorporate, okay, survival like shit like that. Like
Uh-huh.
what happens if you get stranded? Surviving a man attacking you if you were a woman.
Right.
Like I could really make a good survival class. Surviving your freshman 15. Boy, I've got a new class I want to start here.